Alright guys, so part 2 is going to cover some stuff about priming. Now priming is essentially the second thing you're going to be wanting to do in the process, in the entire process of putting one of these bad things out. So what you're going to want to do is decide on what kind of primer you're going to be using. A primer is used for a couple of things. The first thing it is used for is to lay down a base texture for the rest of your paint to hold on to grasp onto, because the metal, the bare metal is actually quite smooth, and there's nothing really for the paint to adhere to give you a nice smooth texture and a nice smooth final product. So you would put over, especially like a gloss coat or a real nice flat coat, maybe not so much a flat coat as much as like a semi-gloss coat, to keep it really smooth so that the paint has something to grab onto. Second thing it's used for is what we like to call black lining. Now, if you use black, obviously black lining applies. White is a little bit different, but in black lining, after you spray the entire model black and you go around with like a blue color, you can leave certain edges black. Like if you're painting a panel, you can paint the middle of the panel blue and leave the edges black, so to add to the shadows. So that's the second thing it's used for. The third thing, and the final thing it's used for, is actually to help keep the hold on, I'm trying to say here. You want to try and use it to kind of like a more of a, like, not a sealer, like you put it on there as a base to prevent damage even more. So like you put your first coat on, your primer coat, and you paint over that, and then you put a sealer coat. So it's got 3 layers of protection on it. So if something were to happen, you know, it won't impact the metal as easily. So you got 3 different coats of protection. And well, 3 different reasons to prime. Now, you don't have to prime the models. Most people will actually have personal preference. Like most of the time when I do Warhammer stuff, I don't prime the models because you paint so much of them. But when I paint War Machine stuff, I always prime them. So you can prime them as many different colors as you want. The 2 best colors are black and white, obviously. Black being used on darker models, white being used on brighter models. You can use tons of different stuff. For example, I have, and this is my favorite, I have Rust-Oleum. This is semi-gloss. And you can see it's a protective enamel also, super durability. This is just a black. So that's what I've actually got down on here right now. I also have, when I want to paint white models, when I used to play Protector of Menos, I have this white model up here. I use Krylon. This is a flat white color. It can be used on any surface, metal. It works particularly well on metal. And this stuff dries super nice too. So that's my white. And you can also use, if you don't want to use a spray coat, and you don't have to, you can use, I think I have black somewhere around here. You know what? I put it up. Here's the same idea though. So pretend this is black. This is the only one I have in reach. This is just a black bottle of paint. If this was a black, this is a brown, but you would just grab a black bottle of paint, and that works the exact same way. All you do is paint it on and make sure it's nice and smooth, and you can paint your details over it. And sometimes I used to do that for Warhammer on single figs that required like lots of work. I would put a black primer of just straight from the bottle paint. Now, you can do a couple things to make your primer look nicer when it goes on. You can put the can in some water, some warm water, before you take it out to spray. Shake it for like 2 to 3 minutes straight. You want to shake the crap out of it to make sure that you're going to get a nice even coating when you spray it on. Spray it in short bursts too, like 1, 2, and then you're going to want to do like 3 to 4 feet away to really make sure the paint atomizes and spreads on the model evenly, the surface. And so that's a couple things you can do. There's no real skill to it, not an art really, just spray it on, let it dry. I like to actually submerge my stuff in water before I spray on too, and that just to make sure that there is no release agent still on the model, because when the models come out of the injection process from casting, they use sometimes it's a powder, sometimes it's a liquid. They use what's called a release agent to actually help the material, help get the material off of the mold itself. So you want to wash especially metal too, like metal, it happens a lot, resin too. You want to go ahead and wash off the model before you prime it. And I'm spilling everything over there. Just gonna get some water off of here. And I went ahead and primed these parts up after we of course did the assembling not too long ago. And they come out quite nicely. Everything's quite shiny and black now. We have a nice undercoat to put everything on. And get that to look, there we go. Everything's covered quite nicely. It's real even. And now we have, oh, the other thing I was supposed to say. The other thing that priming does also is if you paint a model and you have everything finished and everything done, if you were to happen to actually miss something on the model as you were painting, it won't be the bare metal color. So if you spray everything black, and let's say you paint the model a black, there won't be a gray metal piece if you had, been painting just black and then, finished the model. If you had spray coated it, you would have made sure there won't be any metal showing through. Particularly if you do something like red, like if you were to just paint red on it and paint your model red, there could be silver metal pieces coming through. If you were to spray it black first and then go over with your red color, your red base, your red paints, then you won't be seeing that. So black also helps to make sure there's nothing you miss, no mistakes getting in there. And that's essentially the reason why you would actually spray coat any model. And I do kind of prefer spray coats. I don't really go for a straight from the bottle sort of spray primer or sort of primer. So I'm just going to dry fit everything again to make sure everything fits nicely. And it does. Everything works quite well. This is going to be one cool model I'm seeing already. So got a couple pieces of, got one or two pieces of hair here. Grab that off there. Make sure nothing gets stuck. This is actually kind of sticky. The Rust-Oleum that I got here, when it sprays on, it goes quite glossy, so everything gets quite shiny, as you can see. But then it goes a little bit sticky. Like the actual paint itself gets a little bit sticky. And so I put it in just some water, some warm water, to let it sit for about maybe like an hour or 2 hours. And then after that, the stickiness is gone, and you can touch it and you can manipulate it and stuff and work with it. So that's just the ending of priming. And then after this video, in part 3, we'll actually get to putting paint down on this in the first base coat, and then we'll get into our second base coat. And this model is predominantly blue. By the card, you can see it's pretty much mostly blue, if I can get this thing to focus correctly. Okay, so we got blue, we got one white here, one bit of white, we have some silver on the back, but it's mostly going to be this blue and this gold color. I got some gold sort of knee and groin things here, but not a lot of highlighting on this model because it doesn't have a big wide open area like those other jacks we've done. It's just got this white insignia on it, so not too much highlighting is going to go into this, not as much as we would like. But I think my phone's going off. But anyways, that's pretty much it, guys. I will see you in part 3 when we start actually putting down paint. Thanks all for watching. Cheers.